Hey gang, it's Paul with StudPack. Welcome back to the channel. In our previous video, you saw Jordan and I raise this 300-pound beam into place to take the place of the original load-bearing wall that came out super. Now you may also notice that the load-bearing wall that was here at the end of our previous video is gone. So what happened? We installed the beam on a Saturday and one of the owners was coming home Sunday night. She hasn't been here for 2 weeks. So she really hasn't seen this except on YouTube. She never got the full effect of it by walking into this house. So I wanted to have this wall gone when she got home. So I thought, well, Sunday morning, I'll just go get some of these sloped hangers, install them, and I can take down this wall. Well, I checked all 3 of our blue box stores, all 3 of our orange box stores. They didn't have them. So I said, man, I really want to get that wall out of here. So I just came over here. I had these structural screws you've seen us use, and I put one in the bottom of each joist. That was plenty to hold that up, very little load here. And I took that wall down, cleaned up. She got home that evening and was just floored. She absolutely loved it. I saw her this morning. She keeps walking in here and just looks at it. It's super. So I went to my lumber yard this morning. I ordered all the lumber for our new ceiling that's going in here. And wouldn't you know, they had these sloped hangers right there behind the counter. So we waited 6 days for these beams from them, but they had these in stock. And the lumber was here in less than 2 hours. So awesome. So let me walk you through these hangers and show you how they're installed. All right, so this hanger is by Simpson. It's an LSU tie. Oh, sorry. Any of you that live in the southeastern United States know what I'm talking about. Let's try that again. This is an LSU 26 hanger and it's adjustable. It can be at a ridge and accommodate a rafter going down at different angles. And you can bend it up, as in our case, to accommodate the rafter coming down. Super critical with any metal connector that you follow the manufacturer's recommendations according to the nailing schedule. And we all have phones now. It's easy to look up online. I just searched for Simpson LSU 26 installation. Nailing schedule came right up. It wants 6 10D nails into the face. This is the face. That's going to be going into our beam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then it wants 5 10D nails into the joist. The seat one first, we'll show you that up there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 10D nail that goes in here, they want a 10D by 1.5 inches, just like that. And on the end, it even says 10. That way the inspector knows you're using the proper size nail for these hangers. It also specifies a 10D here, but you can't use a short one. It wants a 3-inch nail right there. And then you can see how these slots are a little elongated. They want you to drive them in at an angle. And again, that's for more pull-out strength. Much harder to pull a nail out at an angle than it is straight like that. And that also makes it easier to hammer a nail in or use a tool to drive a nail in at an angle. So let's put the rest of these up. I actually got a start earlier this morning. I was able to do those before Jordan got here. These 2, I needed his help. We're gonna straighten those out and then we'll do the rest. So let me show you what's going on right here. So these 4 hangers here I already have installed, and as I'm installing them, I'm making sure that they're flushing out at the bottom of the beam right here. This is a critical corner because the drywall is going to wrap right here and I want it nice and perfectly straight. So those first 4 went okay, but these 2, they're not okay. This one has a pretty bad twist to it and I want it straight and it's too low. So we're going to get the twist out of this one and push it up where it belongs. Let's get that done first. So this bottom right hole is where I want it to be. So I'm going to drive a nail right there first. Now the hanger, as we twist it, will pivot on that one nail. So let's put our board here that we use as a lever to twist this and put that thing where it belongs. There's our board clamped to the rafter. I'm going to have Jordan push it to my left and get that thing straight and I'll drive the nail. A little more, bud. All right, you ready? All right, that'll stay. We'll take this off. Let's drive the rest of those nails. So this rafter is now secured in place where it goes. This one is also right here, but it's got a pretty bad bow. I can sight across here and see this is really high, like 1/2 inch. So on this other side on the rafter, I made a saw cut almost all the way through. So this part up here where I didn't cut through is gonna act like a hinge. And watch what happens when I pull down. See how it's pulling down? We'll pull it down as much as we can and drive these 2 screws in to hold it in place. So I'm gonna need your help, bud. You ready?
Yep.
All right. All right, this one's up where it needs to be. This one's down where it needs to be. Ouch. Now let's just plane this little piece of 2x4 right off of there so this is flush. Once you come get a shot on this side, and you can see how this kerf we cut really opened up and helped straighten out that joist. So now that those are fixed, let's fly through the rest of these. Alrighty guys, you saw us in the time lapse putting up all these hangers. We were almost at the end, but we wanted to bring you out of time lapse and show you this huge problem we ran into. We've had a lot of comments about this old lumber. What are we doing with it? You've seen shots of it in the dumpster. A lot of you think we can pull all the nails and save it and reuse it for framing, or reuse it for this, or reuse it for that. What I'm going to show you is the main reason I don't reuse this stuff. Check it out. Right here. It's split right in two. I can just pull that out by hand. A little 1.5 inch nail on each side. This stuff is so dry and brittle, that's what it does when you try to reuse it for framing, and that's why I don't like to use it for new framing. And we totally agree with you guys. There's plenty of purposes for this old wood. Those beams we put out at the curb, guy came and picked them up this morning. He's gonna make shutters out of them for his new building. He said, this 40-year-old fir is so clear and beautiful, you can't get it anymore. And that's true, but this stuff is just not good for framing, and that's why we don't reuse it for that. So we're gonna fix this, but let's finish this side right now. Alrighty gang, as I was making this repair, I noticed Jordan with the GoPro and I said, dude, are you recording this? He goes, yeah, we're gonna put it in the video. I said, oh my gosh, I can already hear the comments about this. So on this repair, this is gonna be fine. So sometimes things need to be strong because it's holding up the house. Sometimes they don't. In this application, this 2x6, all it's doing is supporting this drywall. There is no load on top of this from the main roof. There's no equipment load. Nothing like that. So this is going to be plenty strong enough. I still have the hanger under this block. It is glued and screwed to here right now. And there's a huge strong back about right here, mid-span, connecting all these 2x6s together. And if you really want me to, I'll come back later and I'll put a block across the 3 of these to further support this one. Let me know in the comments if you want me to add that block. I appreciate it. So right now we're going to call it a day. Story of my life, we're 1 hanger short. I know I ordered 13 and in my head, always count, make sure the guy pulled the right amount. So I'll pick up that last hanger in the morning, finish this, and we'll reframe this entire ceiling tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Hey gang, so yesterday you saw us get the rafters attached to our new beam here, and today's project is to install this ceiling. But before we start on that, I want to address a lot of comments you guys have been leaving about adhesive and gluing king studs, stud packs, and LVLs together. I never do that, so I actually sent an email to my structural engineer and asked him about adhesives. I said, hey, I get a lot of questions about adhesives. What's your perspective? This is a structural engineer. So what Austin says is mechanical fasteners are all that are needed for beams and columns. I mean, that's how they design them. We're here in the South, United States, no snow loads, no seismic. So to me, they're designing these structures to rely on the fasteners only. He goes on to say that a couple of circumstances where I specify glue is floor sheathing. We've all glued down floor sheathing. And then he goes on and says, and in addition to fasteners when retrofitting plywood gussets to structural members. And then in parentheses, it helps mitigate rotation and slip. But it's not considered for additional load capacity. The adhesive is there for another purpose, not to increase the load capacity. My take on glue is primarily belt and suspenders approach to mitigate serviceability issues. Now, I had no idea what serviceability issues were, so I asked him. He says, hey, no worries. Serviceability is a factor that impacts the function of the building, but not necessarily the structural integrity, like deflection in a beam or vibrations in a floor system. So we've all been in a commercial building, and you can feel the floor vibrating when we're walking on it. So my take on that is they would add adhesive in a wood frame building to make the vibrations less. You know, Jordan, it would have been interesting to measure from here to the bottom of this beam and then see the difference when we added this load. Wouldn't that have been cool?
Yeah.
I bet it's not a 32nd of an inch.
Probably nothing.
Yep. So I really appreciated Austin's response. I hope that answers your question. You know, and the other thing about gluing stuff together is it's a huge mess. I've had glue all over my framing gun, my hammers, my hands. Can you just imagine all the construction adhesive dripping out of here, all over our floor,
right,
and out of here? It would have been a mess. So I don't use it. But if it makes you more comfortable, like he said, belt and suspenders, go for it. So now let's take a look at our ceiling. There's a lot going on up here. We had to kind of design this as we went. So let me hop up on the ladder and show you what we got. Alrighty guys, the original plan was for the faux beams to stay. Imagine this was our faux beam that we took down and is now being recycled. Now it can't just end and be hanging down in the air like that. It's hollow, and that would look silly if it were down here. So the original plan was for the bottom of this beam to be lower so that the faux beams had somewhere to die into, like that. It would look something like that. My concern was that at some point the owners would decide to remove the faux beams, and now our LVL beam is way down here instead of up here where it really should be because it looks better. Let me take you over there and explain that. Now here's our 8-foot ceiling in the kitchen, our cathedral ceiling, and our 9-foot ceiling in the dining room. We wanted the bottom of these two beams to be flush, no matter what elevation they were at, because it would look better, instead of a big step here between this beam and this one. So what I decided to do was, I'm gonna put the beams way up here at 8 feet, so they flush out with the 8-foot ceiling in the kitchen, and then I can build out the bottom of this beam with 2-bys to account for the place that I need for the faux beams to die into. Then if the owners decided to remove the faux beams later, we could pull all this framing down. The beams are where I want them, and everything's cool. So the worst thing that could have happened would have been for us to put the beams lower to accommodate the faux beams. Then the owners decide to remove the faux beams, and now we're stuck with these guys about 6 or 7 inches too low. I would have come in that door every morning, looked at those, and tried to resist the urge to raise the beams, which there's no way I would have done. It would have made a huge impact on the final outcome of the project. So I'm so glad we put them up here. So now that your comments actually saved us a headache on this side, they actually created a headache on this side. So let me hop over there on that ladder and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right guys, we're on the foyer dining room side of this beam right now. And remember, this beam originally was going to be lower, like 6 or 7 inches lower to accommodate those faux beams. But now that it's higher, we've got a problem right here. So if this beam were lower, these were going to sit on top of it. Now it wouldn't have been perfect. We still would have had to build it up here, but that's pretty easy. But now we've got this situation, not only here, but we're going to have it in this whole dining room. Because remember, that ceiling is going to be up here at 9 feet now. So we can't have a joist ending half on the beam and halfway in the air. I can't put a hanger there because of the nailing schedule. They want 3-inch nails through all these holes.
Yeah, that's a 0-inch nail.
That's a 0-inch nail right there. So the original plan was to put a ledger here, bolted to the beam with structural screws. Then our hangers go here. And then our ceiling joists obviously go in the hanger. But that doesn't really work either, because if I put a 3-inch nail here, what do I have behind it? Half's going to be in the wood, half's going to be in the air. So then we started talking about what can we put behind here? Well, if we're going to put something behind here, let's just put like a 4x4 on top and put the hanger right there. These 4 nails are in the LVL, and these top 4 nails are in the 4x4. Perfect solution, and we don't need the ledger. So I think that's the final solution for this joist to beam connection. The only problem is I don't have any 4x4s. So let's head to the store and grab some. All right, gang, we're back from the store. Let's not waste any time. Let's mount these 4x4s on top of our LVLs. We've got some 1/4x6 structural screws, staggered, pre-started. So let's throw that thing up there and screw it down. Alrighty, gang, we put our hangers on these 4 joists for the foyer. Came out great. That 4x4 on top of the beams worked slick. Our next step, we're gonna take this wall down real fast so it's out of our way. Then we're actually gonna set up our line laser so we have a perfectly flat ceiling that matches the foyer ceiling. And then we're kind of figuring this out as we go. We think we're just gonna roll the joist up there in place with 1 nail on a ledger, take the ledger off, put up our hangers, but we'll see how it goes. But right now, let's get this wall out of here.
Wow.
Alrighty, gang, we already have a change of plans. So listen to this. Pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
So we forgot that our roof rafters, our roof load is still on this wall. So we're gonna move them to our beam and then get rid of this. Let's do it. All right, for this roof brace that goes from here to the top of our beam, I need to find the angle between this and our chalk line string, and at the bottom between the top of the beam and the string. We're letting the weight of the chalk line pull this tight, and this is a representation of this side of our brace. Right there, bud? How's that?
That looks
A little
good.
more? Right there? So let's go see what that angle is, and then we'll measure the bottom one. Whew, wrong day to wear long sleeves, bud. It's hot up there. All right, we've got 2 roof braces up. It looks easy, but that was kind of complicated, right? A 9-degree cut at the top and a 37-degree bird's mouth at the bottom. And they're different lengths. They're different about 3/8 of an inch, but we've got our roof load transferred. Let's see if this wall sounds any different now. I think so.
It's still pretty solid,
It is.
but
We know we're supported.
right, at least it's moving now.
I'm gonna hit it the other way. There we go. All right, let's get that board down, set up our laser. All right, gang, here's our setup. We have our Bosch crossline laser set up on our Hupar mount. We just have a nail in the king stud up here, and it's hooked on that nail. We use the rack and pinion adjust here to get it perfectly where we wanted it. And our goal was right here, the intersection of the new top plate and these ceiling joists. Remember, our old ceiling used to be down here at 8 feet. We're gonna raise it up to here. On this side, we added a ledger to help us install the joist, so let me head over there and I'll show you that. All right, here's our ledger strip attached to our beam. Our laser beam is right on top of that. That's gonna guarantee that we have a perfectly flat ceiling across here. So our next step, we're gonna go outside, unbundle those 2x6s, crown them so we know which way is up, and get them in here. But first, I'm gonna cool off. I can hear the AC's on. Ooh, that feels good. Wish you heard cool. Alrighty gang, that new ceiling looks awesome. That was the easiest thing we've done in this whole video, huh Jordan? Let's throw those joists up there. And look at this shot of all those metal hangers. That looks like a house in Southern California ready for an earthquake, doesn't it? That is solid right there. So we're gonna have one more joist right here that will replace this one that's on the flat on the top of the original wall. And then over here we actually have 4 more to do. We're probably gonna just put in 2 of them and leave this open to put our ladder here so that me and Jordan, our electrician, the inspector, everybody else can access the attic like we talked about before instead of going in the back of the house. So once we finish the ceiling in here, I'll be able to walk on that new 9-foot ceiling and put in our roof braces on this section of the roof to our beam, just like we did here. This wall can come out. We'll save these 16-footers to frame our new pantry. And then when you stand back here, you'll get the full effect of the open floor plan. We cannot wait for that. So get out your palm nailer, your positive placement tool, nail that like button for us, ask us a question, leave a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. We would really appreciate that, and we will see you guys on the next one.